Welcome to the Cosmic Chosen channel. They thought you were trapped, that the weight of everything they stacked against you, financial burdens, emotional trauma, spiritual warfare, would crush you before you could even stand. But what they didn't understand is that you weren't living by chance. You were moving by divine design. The truth? Over 90% of plans fail because of unexpected variables. And you were that variable. You didn't break the rules. You rewrote the blueprint. Destiny doesn't negotiate with doubters, and it doesn't bend to enemies. While they spent time plotting, predicting, and praying, you were being positioned. Trying to stop a chosen one is like trying to punch the wind. Loud, dramatic, and completely ineffective. Your debt? Both seen and unseen. It was never permanent. It was part of the storyline. Because tomorrow, by divine code, not luck, not loophole, the weight lifts. The energy shifts. What you owed dissolves, not just from paper or banks, but from karma, bloodline, and spiritual burden. Why? Because the story isn't about what you were forced to carry. It's about what you were born to break. So take a deep breath and let the fear go. The system they built to hold you down is erasing your chains right on schedule. First of all, they are unable to undermine what has already been inscribed in fire. What has already been inscribed in fire cannot be sabotaged. No matter how meticulously they prepare, how far ahead they believe they are, or how stealthily they advance, none of it succeeds. Why? Because the foundation of what is designed for you is solid. It was sealed long before they even considered interfering, etched into the very fabric of your identity. Their efforts aren't against you. Rather, they're up against something far bigger and more insurmountable. In actuality, their plans fail because they are attempting to alter a screenplay that is not theirs. You're on a road that was predetermined the minute you were born, not one that was created by human hands. No detour, delay, or obstacle they present may alter the predetermined destination. Their manipulation is like to attempting to topple a mountain with stones. It won't. No, it cannot. Your foundation is too strong, too profound, and too unyielding. They may believe their strategies, subtle hints, behind-the-scenes actions, and planned measures meant to surprise you are ingenious. They fall short here, though, since your narrative doesn't wait for their admiration. Your purpose's momentum is already underway, outpacing their sabotage, outstripping their falsehoods, and outpacing their doubts. All they have done is divert you toward a better ending than the one they attempted to steal, even when they believe they have barred your way. Because they are facing an uncontrollable, unpredictable, and untouchable obstacle, their defeat is ultimately inevitable, rather than only a possibility. Opposition doesn't extinguish the fire that drives your trip. Rather, it burns through it, scattering their shattered ideas among the ashes. And you're still standing after the smoke goes away. Untouchable. Second, opposition just serves to affirm your authority. Opposition just serves to validate your authority. Resistance appears as you step into your purpose, not because you're not on the right path, but because you've reached a place where your presence counts. When something doesn't threaten them, people don't question it. Nobody plans to harm something they think is helpless. Even while they won't acknowledge it, they are aware of the power you possess, which is why they turn against you through sabotage, doubt, or direct attacks. They don't realize that their opposition just serves to support your attitude and demonstrate that you're headed in the correct way. Their resistance is a spotlight that highlights the magnitude of your impact rather than a barricade. If your presence didn't change the mood, they wouldn't waste time attempting to bring you down. Their pressure isn't intended to shatter you. Rather, it's proof that you've entered a space where your presence challenges the existing quo. The thing they can't tolerate is that every effort to stop you just makes you go farther. Their pessimism turns into the motivation that makes you work harder. Their skepticism helps you focus. You are forced to rise above them by their sabotage. You transform what people see as resistance into movement. You utilize the impediments they throw as stepping stones. The true irony, though, their resistance shows that they are afraid of who you are going to be, not of who you are right now. They are uneasy because they realize they have no control over the authority they perceive in you. They oppose in an attempt to slow you down, but they are unaware that your unstoppable nature is confirmed by their mere existence. Ultimately, their resistance serves as a reminder rather than a threat. Each obstacle serves as evidence that you have advanced to a point where concentration is required. And the best indication that you've already won is their resistance, whether they acknowledge it or not. Number 3. When your instinct is there, their calculations fall apart. They can spend all their time planning, strategizing, and plotting, but instinct takes over the instant they try to outmaneuver you, and that's when they lose. They depend on calculations in the hopes of forecasting your next move. But what they don't grasp is that your decisions don't come from reasoning alone. They come from something deeper, an inner knowing that can't be planned out or foreseen. Their best-laid strategies are not as quick as your intuition. You've already moved, so they're chasing shadows while they're busy attempting to corner you. What gives you the advantage is instinct. That instinct that causes you to halt, alter your course, or move more quickly than you anticipated is the reason you detect things before they happen. It's accuracy, not chance, and their approach is destroyed before it can get traction because of that accuracy. They believe they have constructed a great trap, but you avoid it without even recognizing it because your instincts drew you away from danger before it could reach you, not because you were aware of their strategy. They are unable to forecast or control it, which makes it insurmountable. It is possible to modify computations and strategies. However, intuition, it's erratic and flexible. It moves in ways that are impossible for them to follow, rendering their well-planned strategies ineffective. Your instincts change, even when they believe they have you figured out, and they have to catch up. What's the best part? You don't need to give an explanation for your knowledge. It always works if you simply act. The fact that your intuition is superior to their reasoning is what irritates them the most. When they witness your success, they find it incomprehensible that you continue to elude them. However, the reality is straightforward. Your instincts put you 10 steps ahead of them, while they're busy thinking 3 steps ahead. Fourth, you are made to withstand, not to be protected. You are resilient because you are designed to withstand hardships, not because anything is protecting you. There is a distinction. Without a barrier, protection suggests that you might fall, but that isn't your tale. The power you possess is woven into your entire being, so you don't need walls to surround yourself. Attacks ignite something inside of you that propels you forward. They don't break you. It's about taking the hit and using it to make you stronger, not about avoiding it. That kind of resilience is underestimated. They think you'll break if they put enough pressure on you. They believe that being betrayed or experiencing setbacks will weaken you. However, you take those blows and turn them into power rather than crumbling. Every obstacle serves as motivation to push yourself farther. Every failure helps you become more focused. It pushes you to new heights when it should have taken you out. Their attempts are unsuccessful because you use them as stepping stones rather than avoiding them. Being impervious to suffering or disappointment is not the aim here. Every strike is felt by you. But you deal with that suffering in a different way than others may. It helps you develop emotional fortitude, mental toughness, and unwavering resolve. This gradually shapes you into a more polished form of yourself that cannot be broken. You grow more resilient the more they attempt to destroy you. What's the best part? They can't take advantage of any weakness. You don't depend on temporary shields or outside assistance. Your strength is derived from the lessons you've learned, the struggles you've faced, and the flames you've endured, not from other people. Their assaults are ineffective as a result. They are unable to destroy resistance that has already been established. They are ultimately facing someone who is designed to endure whatever they throw at them and always emerge stronger, not someone who is just sheltered. Fifth, they miscalculated the price of meddling. They started something that cannot be stopped the instant they decided to obstruct your route. They believed it was only an attempt to harm you, a little setback or a cunning ploy. They were unaware that certain decisions have long-term repercussions, lines that, once crossed, determine their destiny. The cosmos has a way of balancing the balances, not because you wanted to harm someone or exact retribution. When someone attempts to obstruct what ought to proceed, they not just impede your advancement, but also bring about their own demise. Quietly but firmly, opportunities that were previously theirs start to shut. They lose the connections they depended upon. No matter how hard they knock, doors that may have opened up to prosperity and progress remain closed. It's the inevitable result of meddling with something they had no right to touch. It's not punishment. You disturb your own destiny when you disturb someone else's. The fact that they seldom ever anticipate it adds to the expense. Everything appears to be okay at first. For a little time, their schemes may even appear to be successful. However, things start to change gradually. The edge they believed they had begins to wane. Unexpected setbacks keep happening. They no longer have the possibilities they once took for granted. Additionally, they encounter more opposition the harder they attempt to push their way forward. This is because interfering with someone's choice is an attempt to change a future that was never theirs, not merely an attack on an individual. And there's always a cost to that type of meddling, not out of animosity, but because some chances are reserved for those who walk with integrity. Some doors close permanently once they are crossed. They were out of sync with their own destiny the instant they took a step against you. And while you keep moving on, unaffected and unstoppable, others are left to deal with unanticipated consequences. Sixth, your energy thwarts their plans before they materialize. People sense your energy even when they can't see it. The mood changes the instant you enter a room in a manner that words cannot describe. It's the cause of some people's innate attraction to you and the uneasiness that others experience around you. That uneasiness isn't arbitrary. It's the result of bad intentions clashing with an uncontrollable force. Your energy destroys them from the inside out before their ideas can even begin to take shape. Defense is about responding to an assault. It is not about defense. However, you disturb rather than respond. Your very presence disrupts their schedule, jumbles their plan, and undermines their self-confidence. Something about you makes their next action unknown, so they are unable to proceed as planned. They pause. They have self-doubt. What appears to be a straightforward way to weaken you suddenly becomes hazy and unsteady. This is alignment, not luck. Your energy transforms into a force barrier that pushes away everything that shouldn't be in your path when you move in accordance with your purpose. Though it might get close, negativity cannot establish itself. Though it might murmur, jealousy cannot influence. Even if sabotage is planned, it will fail before it can reach you. People may not realize why their efforts are unsuccessful. They just know that nothing goes as planned. The finest aspect? There is nothing else that you need to do. Being focused, grounded, and aligned simply makes it impossible for negativity to flourish. Attempting to kindle a fire in the rain is analogous to this. The environment surrounding you will prevent their plans from succeeding, no matter how hard they try. Their plans are falling apart without you doing a thing while they're busy hatching schemes behind closed doors. Not because you stopped them, but because your energy ensured they never had a chance. 7th, strategic warfare, not weakness, is what silence is. There's something unsettling about silence. They see it as weakness, hesitancy, or failure. For you, however, stillness is a strategy rather than a retreat. You are always watching, evaluating, and getting ready while you keep your peace. They think you're standing still, but you're actually building up the power and focus necessary to move precisely. And once you do, it's quick, definitive, and irrevocable. Silence has power because it is unpredictable. Noise is what people expect. Debates, replies, and unrelenting defense. Their confidence starts to erode when they fail to grasp it. They begin to doubt themselves, wondering if their maneuvers went as planned. Their presumptions start to undermine themselves the more they press and receive no response. Because stillness allows their imagination to fill in the blanks, their haughtiness degenerates into anxiousness. Additionally, their imagination frequently turns into their worst adversary. They are unaware that you may gain control of the battlefield by remaining silent. You put them in a precarious situation by refusing to interact with them on their terms. Without you ever exposing your hand, they begin to do so. They become hasty and risky because their desire for a reaction turns into a vulnerability. Additionally, you stay grounded and save your energy for when the time is right to attack, while they are busy overplaying their movements. Silence's true power, however, is in what it enables you to develop inside yourself. It makes room for introspection, development, and strategic planning. You hone your focus and connect yourself with the larger objective, while others squander energy demonstrating a point. You therefore move with a power that no one anticipated when it's time to take action. Your stillness is ultimately the calm before the storm, not a sign of defeat. And it's too late by the time they recognize the difference. Number 8. Their attack is rendered obsolete by your progress. It's already too late by the time they act. They have outgrown, outrun, and abandoned the version of you they attempted to assault. Their schemes, words, and deeds are all intended for a different you. What used to harm you hardly matters now. You don't even pause for what may have previously slowed you down. Shadows don't bleed, and that's what their guns are targeted for. Your best defense is growth, which makes their attacks moot. You have grown stronger, smarter, and more resilient as a result of every setback, betrayal, and moment of uncertainty. They are unaware of the lessons you have acquired. They can't see the power you've developed until it's too late. You have, therefore, already advanced cognitively, emotionally, and spiritually, even though they are still fixated on where you were. What irritates them the most is that they anticipate you would respond and stumble over the same challenges as before. However, you easily avoid their traps rather than falling into them. You've learned to define yourself so their comments don't hurt. You've learned to trust your instincts so their deception is ineffective. And their efforts to discredit you simply serve to emphasize how far you've come. Growth renders them helpless, in addition to protecting you. What they cannot reach, they cannot touch. You change every time they believe they have figured you out. As soon as you level up, their tactics are rendered obsolete. When you try to combat someone who is constantly shifting shape, you're already someplace else by the time they swing. Their attacks ultimately serve as a reminder that you have outgrown the restrictions they attempted to place on you. As they expend energy battling a non-existent version of you, you continue to advance, untouchable, unstoppable, and out of their grasp. 9. You are in charge of the script, but they wrote the plot. The pen was never in their hands, but they are free to write as many plans as they choose. Their stories are only anecdotes in a narrative that they are unable to write. Every action they do is limited by a previously established plot, in which you are the protagonist rather than the victim. In actuality, the tale bends to your presence rather than their manipulation, despite their belief that their meddling may change the result. Control makes a difference. They behave as though they can tell you where to go, but each time they try to guide you, it simply makes you more determined. Their diversions teach you valuable lessons that help you focus better. Their failures turn into motivators that help you advance. The storyline always reorients itself to support your development, even if they change a chapter or postpone a scene. Despite their best efforts, they end up paving the way for the same success they were trying to prevent. Ironically, their meddling frequently directly affects the script's structure. What they meant to hurt turns out to be the same thing that makes your tale stand out. It's similar to attempting to delete a line from a book, only to find that it was written there in permanent ink. Their efforts highlight the power of your story, not change your future. And even though they might not want to, they are eventually contributing to your success. Because the storyline is shaped by your decisions, actions, and attitude, you are in charge of the screenplay. There is no external factor that can change your destiny. The ending chapter cannot be changed by their manipulation, although it may create momentary anxiety. You keep going on, turning each page with purpose, clarity, and unstoppable momentum while they spend time attempting to write you out of your own tale. Ultimately, their effect is transient, and their function is little. The pen is in your hands, the story is shaped by you, and the tale always ends with your victory, regardless of how they attempt to change the plot. 10th, the cost of their poor assessment of you is failure. Their downfall was inevitable the once they underestimated you. They assumed that one fall would be sufficient to hold you down, mistaking your setbacks for restrictions. They failed to see that your potential for success is infinite and unrestricted by circumstances or numbers. You always return stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable than when they thought you were gone. Their failure is the price of underestimating your own abilities, not simply a possibility. Predictability is frequently used by those who scheme against you. They anticipate that you will give up when the strain becomes too great or break after a while. However, you consistently surpass their expectations. You perceive a lesson where others see failure. You choose a different path where they anticipate you to back off. Their tactic becomes a losing game due to their capacity to continuously getting back up after being struck down. They cannot outlive someone who is unwilling to give up. Their assaults are based on erroneous assumptions, which is the true reason why failure is assured. Unaware that every fall strengthens you, they see your failures as evidence of weakness. They don't understand that every challenge increases your ability. They think your boundaries are set. They are therefore up against someone who has already advanced past their grasp when they attack again. Before they can even use their strategies, they become antiquated. Realizing they never had a chance, not because you were immune to failure, but because you understood how to turn it into momentum, is what destroys them the most. You were learning how to rise while they were wasting energy attempting to keep you down. They were unable to control or confine you as a result of that procedure. The weight of their own poor decision-making ultimately brings them down, not the power of your counterattack. They placed a wager on your fortitude, and they will fully repay that loan. 11th, every effort to undermine you is a covert validation of your authority. Every attempt by them to undermine you is an inadvertent recognition of your power. When something is unimportant, people don't waste their efforts criticizing it. The tacit understanding that your existence upsets the established quo is what drives their efforts to discredit, undermine, or sabotage you. Their actions show the truth, even if they would never say it aloud. You stand for something they cannot ignore, outshine, or control. Opposition is focused, not haphazard. When someone deliberately obstructs your path, it's because they perceive you as a danger to their authority, dominance, or status. The story they have created for themselves is called into question by your accomplishment. Your development acts as a reminder of their unfulfilled potential, and they put their efforts into attempting to impede your success rather than concentrating on their own. However, in doing so, they inadvertently draw attention to just how much power you possess. Ironically, their efforts to minimize you simply make you more noticeable. They draw greater attention to what you're doing the more they resist. Every muttered skepticism, calculated roadblock, and sarcastic remark is evidence that your impact cannot be ignored. If you were unimportant, they wouldn't be conspiring. If you weren't ahead, they wouldn't be observing. Their hostility is essentially a compliment in reverse, a validation that your presence alone is sufficient to rock their foundation. They don't realize, however, that their meddling has the opposite impact of what they intended. They sharpen you rather than stop you. Their opposition compels you to sharpen your concentration, fortitude, and resolve. They unwittingly contribute to the very fire they are attempting to put out with each effort they make. And you burn hotter the harder they push. Their strikes ultimately demonstrate your power rather than lessen it. Every action taken against you is proof that others are paying attention to you. Furthermore, they are only proving that you have already climbed above their grasp, regardless of how hard they attempt to pull you down. Number 12. What is engraved into reality cannot be removed. Your purpose is not negotiable, and your presence is not a coincidence. Since it was never created by human hands, it cannot be removed, altered, or reversed. Your path was woven into the fundamental fabric of reality long before anybody had an opinion. What is ingrained in your very being cannot be altered by any amount of intervention. People may oppose, question, and conspire against you, but they are up against something far greater than their own power. They are attempting to remove something that cannot be uprooted, which is why their attempts fail. It's similar to attempting to remove a mountain from the skyline. The foundation is deeper than they can reach, thus the attempt is useless. Time itself is braided with your purpose, which is meant to unfold, regardless of anybody who gets in the way. Their words are unable to erase it. They cannot reverse it. It cannot be weakened by their incredulity. What is intended for you is not dependent on their consent, nor does it need their approval. They are frustrated by the fact that they cannot make you vanish no matter how hard they try. Every obstacle they attempt to put in your way sets the stage for your next big discovery. Every challenge they present you with serves as a tool to hone your fortitude. Additionally, each time they believe they have buried you, they are only sowing the seeds for your subsequent development. This is how purpose has power. It functions outside the bounds of human intervention. Individuals can postpone, divert, or demoralize, but they cannot destroy something that they never created in the first place. No amount of resistance can undo what has already been woven into the narrative of your existence. Your presence is proof of something bigger. Ultimately, their attempts to destroy you only serve to emphasize how permanent you are. They can attempt to change the story, but the original script is unaltered, inscribed into reality that is out of their control, and it will always play out precisely as it was intended to. 13. What they meant to be chains ends up being your crown. The exact thing that they believed would shatter you ended up strengthening you. Every chain they attempted to encircle your advancement, doubt, limitation, treachery, and failure, became the foundation for your victory. They didn't realize how powerful you could make pressure work. Their efforts created a strength they never anticipated, not a weakness that held you back. The same shackles that were used to restrain you now serve as a crown on your head, signifying that nothing they did could prevent you from rising. Only when you accept limitations do they have power, but you didn't. Each no turned into gasoline. Every failure served as a teaching moment. Every door that was closed pushed you to take different routes, which honed your ingenuity and fortitude. You adjusted where others would have stopped. You developed endurance where they feared you would shatter. And you turned everything that ought to have weighted you down into a platform that raised you with each challenge. The goal of this metamorphosis was to demonstrate to yourself that their boundaries were never yours in the first place, not to disprove them. Their uncertainty turned into your clarity. Their limitations turned into your liberation. You took charge of your tale because of their attempts to dictate it. And because of their efforts, not in spite of them, you now stand taller. This victory is beautiful because it cannot be undone. What they have inadvertently given you, strength, confidence, and insight forged in the furnace of their opposition, cannot be taken back. What they attempted to use against you now demonstrates your fortitude. Every scar, every lesson learned, and every difficult event has been transformed into something strong and indisputable. You thus wear those experiences like a crown, not as a memory of what you endured, but as proof of what you conquered, while others look on, furious that their shackles were unable to keep you. With that crown, you advance stronger, smarter, and unstoppable, transforming every challenge they put in your way into a new stride on your unstoppable ascent. Number 14. It is obvious that victory will come. Victory is the only possible conclusion, not a remote possibility. Their loss was inevitable the moment they stepped in your way, not due to chance, timing, or luck, but rather because of your indomitable motivation. Your path is driven by a force that advances regardless of anybody who attempts to obstruct it. It is not based on flimsy ambition or wishful thinking. Their resistance increases your velocity rather than slowing you down. Every challenge they put in your path simply makes you more determined, making your ascent not just feasible but assured. Alignment is the key here, not haughtiness. Setbacks become less powerful when you align your actions with your purpose. Failure turns into fuel. Doubt is rendered moot. Since the basis of your success even isn't external, you don't have to wonder if you'll succeed anymore. You know you will. It is independent of time, validation, or acceptance from others. It's ingrained in your identity and your purpose in life. That script cannot be changed by any amount of intervention. Those who oppose you frequently think they can influence the result. They believe that what they are doing can hinder, slow down, or stop your growth. They are unaware that by opposing you, they have committed to a fate from which they cannot turn. Your development is ultimately fueled by their energy, whether it comes from manipulation, sabotage, or skepticism. Their resistance helps you stay focused, increases your resolve, and fortifies your fortitude. They unintentionally contribute to your rise by attempting to obstruct you. And the strongest component? This is inevitable. You don't have to fight for it. As you proceed, it becomes clear. You just keep getting up as they rush to change their tactics. Their failures turn into learning opportunities. Their challenges serve as evidence of your tenacity. Their incredulity serves as the background that makes your accomplishments even more remarkable. Ultimately, their failure is the inevitable result of opposing an unstoppable force. It is not something you wish for. Every action you take is infused with the promise of victory. It is not a destination. It's already in motion. Therefore, the outcome is not unknown. Ultimately, every effort to halt you only serves to confirm one certain fact. You are irreversible. Their schemes, presumptions, and constraints fall apart under the force of your fortitude. They made a mistake right away, seeing your rise as a coincidence, your failures as defeat, and your quiet as submission. They overlooked the fact that your very presence changes the course of events. Instead of just surviving their interference, you use it as momentum to get higher every time they attempt to drag you down. Negativity is disarmed by your energy before it can manifest. Their attacks, which target versions of you that have been abandoned for a long time, come too late to have any effect. Every challenge they put in your way turns into a stepping stone. The crown that signifies your supremacy has replaced their chains, which were intended to hold you back. Additionally, they unintentionally reinforce the authority they want to weaken with each action they do. This is a tale of destiny rather than chance. Victory is the force that goes with you, not something you seek. The minute they resisted what could not be stopped, their loss was certain. They remain footnotes in a story that was never theirs to control, regardless of how they rewrite their stories. The pen is in your hands. You influence the conclusion. Nothing they do can change the conclusion that was always yours to claim. And one reality is evident as the last chapter progresses. You were never intended to be contained. You are impenetrable and unstoppable because you have been selected. What about their plot? It was a failure before it started. If this message resonated with you and stoked your passion, don't keep it to yourself. Become a member of the family. Click subscribe to join a community based on tenacity, fortitude, and unstoppable momentum. Sometimes all it takes is one message to make a big difference. So show some love by liking the video and sharing it with someone you know who needs this reminder. Also, leave a remark below. Tell me about your experience, what struck a chord with you, and your opinions. Together, let's develop, ascend, and triumph. This is only the start.